Why have we decided to focus on Putin? The answer is simple. He exemplifies the principles of contrarian and mass psychology extremely well. He does what is not expected, he does not follow the standard protocol or the mass mindset. That is why his opponents are always caught off guard, especially Obama, whom Putin has manipulated like a monkey in a zoo. To some extent Trump is following a similar path, though he tends to be more bombastic than Putin. In other words, there is time when Trump leaps before he looks. Putin on the other hand never jumps until he has a comprehensive understanding of the terrain. The first clip illustrates how Putin speaks his mind and shows America's double standards. When a referendum was held for Kosovo, the world was forced to accept that referendum after an illegal war broke that nation up. However, when a peaceful referendum took place in Crimea without one shot being fired, it was deemed barbaric. This is the same stance market experts use. They tell you to sell even though they know it is time to buy, and when it is time to buy they tell you to sell. Why the double standard? Because they want to milk you. The principles of mass psychology can be utilized in every aspect of one's life. Just remember, if you follow the masses you are bound to lose. This is why Putin is winning. He is not bound by the mass mindset that plagues most Western leaders. He thinks out of the box. Now let's watch the clip. He states that he is not a friend or the groom of the West but the president of the Russia, and he has to look out for their interests.
You asked me if I was a friend or not. The relations between states are a little different from those between individuals. I am no friend, bride, or groom. I am president of the Russian Federation, which has 146 million people. These people have their own interests, and I must protect those interests. We are ready to do this in a non-confrontational manner, to look for compromise, but of course, based on international law, which must be understood uniformly by all.
In this video once again Putin puts the principles of mass psychology into play. He is not getting emotionally involved in the affairs of Syria. On the same token, he makes it clear that he will not allow the West to interfere at all. His message is clear: anyone that attempts to attack Russian assets will be destroyed immediately. He is making a decision that is independent of emotion. Once emotions start talking, the end is usually close at hand. The same principles apply to investing in the market. You do not let your emotions do the talking. When you buy or sell, you do so without bringing your emotions to the table. If your emotions do the talking, your money does the walking, as in walking away from you.
Now let's talk to artist Marina Kochno, who's following the story for us. So, Marina, why was Putin talking about threats to Russian forces?
Well, this particular statement was made by the Russian President Vladimir Putin following the recent downing of a Russian warplane while it was conducting a combat mission in Syria by Turkish forces. Now, this particular incident happened just 2 weeks ago, but still, this Friday, Vladimir Putin once again called for a broader cooperation with the US-led coalition in this international fight against the spread of ISIS in Syria. Now, speaking at the end of the year meeting at the Defense Ministry, Vladimir Putin said that Russian air military operation is aimed at uniting all forces that are currently involved in this fight, both the Syrian state army as well as the Western-backed opposition.
The work of our military aircraft contributes to the alliance of the government forces and the Free Syrian Army. Right now, several of its divisions of more than 5,000 people, as well as the government troops, are advancing against terrorists in the provinces of Homs, Hama, Aleppo and Raqqa. We provide them and government troops with their support. We also support them with weapons and funding.
Ex-NATO General Wesley Clark vindicates Putin in the video below, where he clearly states that the United States planned all the wars in the Middle East. Apparently, the idiots in the West, especially in the United States government, did not watch this clip, but we are sure Putin did. Again, this illustrates how you need to do the opposite of what the masses are doing. When it comes to the stock market, By when the masses panic and panic when the masses jump up in joy and think it is time to load up on stocks.
This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, we're going to war with Iraq. Why? He said, I don't know. He said, I guess they don't know what else to do. So I said, well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda? He said, no. He says, there's nothing new that way. They've just made the decision to go to war with Iraq. He said, I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments. And he said, I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail. So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, are we still going to war with Iraq? And he said, oh, it's worse than that. He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran. The truth is about the Middle East is, had there been no oil there, it would be like Africa. Nobody is threatening to intervene in Africa. The problem is the opposite. We keep asking for people to intervene and stop it. And there's no question that the presence of petroleum throughout the region has sparked great power involvement. Whether that was the specific motivation for the coup or not, I can't tell you, but there's always been this attitude that somehow we could intervene and use force in the region.
In this clip, Putin clearly illustrates once again the out-of-the-box thinking when asked about the allegations that Russia was behind the hacker attacks targeting the DNC and Hillary Clinton, by stating, let's discuss the contents and not the allegations. However, mainstream media wanted to redirect the fire from Hillary's misdeeds and to create the illusion that Russia had hacked the United States and was trying to affect the outcome of the elections. This hypocrisy on a grand scale when the United States is actively involved in undermining the elections in many nations, and in many cases it resorts to the use of force. 3 examples are Iraq, Libya and Syria.
That you would also say is completely untrue.
Я не знаю. Знаете, столько много хакеров сегодня, причем они действуют настолько филигранно, настолько тонко, могут показать в нужном месте и в нужное время свой след, или даже не свой след, а закамуфлировать свою деятельность под деятельность каких-то других хакеров из других территорий, из других стран. Это абсолютно такая трудно проверяемая вещь, если вообще возможно ее проверить. Во всяком случае, на государственном уровне мы этим точно не занимаемся.
Isn't it time that we all...
А потом, послушайте меня, потом ведь разве это важно? Кто взломал? Там вот эти какие-то там данные из штаба, придворного штаба госпожи Клинтон. Разве это важно? Важно, что является содержанием того, что было предъявлено общественности. Вот вокруг этого должна вестись дискуссия на самом деле.
Putin also took a similar stance on immigration when he stated that Russia is for Russians. In other words, Russians come first and only then will the needs of immigrants be addressed. Now Hungarian president who is a fan of Putin has joined the club, saying that Hungary is for Europeans first and not for barbaric immigrants whose culture clashes with that of the locals. Again, this illustrates that when it comes to the stock market you have to go against mainstream thinking. If you think like a lemming you will die like a lemming, and when it comes to the stock market lemmings always lose. The stock market forgives no one, it has no mercy, and it will not answer your prayers or wishes. If you resort to such antics, then loss will be your companion forever. To win in the financial markets, you need to gain control of your emotions. What do we mean when we use the term gain control of your emotions? We are not talking about becoming a robot or to force yourself not to feel or experience anything. That would be impossible and foolhardy. What we are referring to is that you do not allow the emotion to take control of your senses. You recognize the emotion, but you should not let it take over and control your actions. This takes practice, as these reactions are hardwired into our system. Thus you need first to spend time observing yourself and the masses. Never follow the crowd when euphoria or panic seize it. For example, when blood is flowing the streets, that is the best time to buy stocks, and when the crowd is dancing in joy, that is the time to bank your profits. The trend is your friend, everything else is your foe.